So Rags to Riches and Happy Noy, these were the two social enterprises we put up. Nung nagkukwento si Prim about the number of kilometers he walked and number of hours, I suddenly had a flashback when we were starting out. Nagsimula ho kami ni Mark with Happy Noy, and eventually we put up Rags to Riches with Reese and other board members as well. We just used our savings. It's a good thing we had been working for maybe 6 or 7 years at that point, so we had some savings to spend. We borrowed money from a bank, from a microfinance institution, so in many ways, para rin kaming microfinance member. Umutang po kami so that we could run our operations for the first year, and it was really hard. It was really, really tough. At that time, we would present in a forum like this, and somebody would tell us, social enterprise is a myth. You cannot engage a community in enterprise and expect them to do better, because the market and social development are opposed to each other. That was the prevailing thought 8 or 10 years ago. Pag tinanong po ninyo yung mga ibang nasa NGO sector back then, they would say that you cannot mix both of these things. They are mutually exclusive. But over the past 8 years, we've seen that actually one of the best ways to get people out of poverty is to engage them in business. And in fact, these days, I would even say that the only way to get people out of poverty or to get communities out of poverty is to engage them by finding them a job or getting them to put up an enterprise which is sustainable. Walang ibang paraan. Unless manalo ka sa loto siguro, but that's probably not going to happen. So, there are only two ways. Siguro yung pang-apat, nagmana ka ng pera, di ba, or something. But the only two real ways to get people out of poverty is to find them a job or to help them put up an enterprise. We've seen through the years that donations and charity are really important for disasters. They're really important for the most marginalized groups like orphans and the elderly and the sick. But if you're talking about yung masang Pilipino, if you want to get them out of poverty, find them a better job, find them a job, or find them a better job, or help them put up an enterprise which is sustainable, link them up to a market which is sustainable. Now, Happy Noy and Rags to Riches, we tried to do that, and we're still doing that. And even now that I'm in the Senate, tuloy-tuloy pa rin po ang Happy Noy at Rags to Riches with Mark and Reese. But we've come across a number of other kindred spirits. No? The Gawad Kalinga, which started in 2003, actually shifted its model. It still does a lot of the housing and community work, but now it's really focusing also on social enterprises. And in fact, trying to create that hub at the GK Enchanted Farm. So we're also supporting them a lot. Some other friends, si Bambike, not named after me, it's named after bamboo. It's not why I'm promoting it, but I'm just so amazed that bamboo, treated the right way, can compete with some of the most expensive materials in the world. That's just amazing for me. And how our country actually treats bamboo rather poorly. We don't even consider it as an important, is that a tree, Carl? An important grass. No? Just to be technical about an important grass. But there's so much that we can do with bamboo. You can make bikes in Bohol through their reconstruction effort. Treated bamboo and plywood actually is better even than cement blocks. No? So there's so much potential here, and they're not the only ones doing bamboo. We're trying to help the bamboo industry also to get revitalized. Juma Jam is actually also set up by some of our friends. Ito naman on the technology side, it's an educational app that uses OPM music to actually educate children. So marami mong natamaan doon. You have OPM, you have education, you have technology. This has launched already. But what they do is they have a subscription model. So if you want the second module, the third module, then you subscribe further. We have the Tagum City Youth Laboratory Cooperative. That's a really long name, but basically, these guys are the youth group of the Tagum City Cooperative. Tagum City Cooperative is a really big cooperative. They're hundreds of millions of pesos na yung kanilang portfolio. But their youth group put up initially a very small project with public schools. They went around public schools and taught grade school kids financial literacy. And part of the output of that was a savings program for grade school, public school children. And within 3 years, over 1 million pesos na yung kanilang savings program. And those kids have not only learned how to save and how to be financially literate, but it became the foundation for entrepreneurship. Ngayon, kung noon, yung tanong sa kanila, Kuya, paano kami mag-withdraw ng savings namin? Yung tanong ngayon, Kuya, pwede ba kaming kumuha ng loan para magtayo ng negosyo? So it became a foundation for entrepreneurship. I'd like to share with you another example here, no? But basically, just to underscore the point that hindi tayo nagkukulang ng creative and innovative solutions. There's a lot in the Philippines. And a lot of the people who had started this maybe in the mid-2000s, seems so far ago, Carl. Mid-2000s like us. For some time, we were really worried na bakit sa mga forum, tayo pa rin yung mga speakers. Parang pare-pareho pa rin yung mga grupo. But lately, we've been seeing, and the global shapers are a big part of this, the Dream Project is a big part of this. There's been so many of these new social innovations, and every time I hear of these new projects and these new ideas, which I haven't heard of, tuwan-tuwa po ako, because that only means that there's more. And there's actually a growing sector of social innovators and social entrepreneurs in the Philippines. I'd like to share this with you because this is something I think that's really sustainable. It's a working model, and it touches on all of the points that we're trying to push today. No? So let's go back there. This is actually a framework that we've been using for inclusive business. Inclusive business is a whole other term. ATP is also at the forefront of this. And we've been trying to combine where the social entrepreneurs are, where inclusive business is, where the community enterprises are, where the agencies are, and the traditional civil society organizations are. And we came up with this framework which we'd like to share with you. And to explain this framework, I'm going to talk about the Kalasag farmers. The Kalasag farmers are a cooperative in Nueva Ecija, and they're basically onion farmers. Now, what makes this a really unique model is that Jollibee Foundation actually works with the Kalasag farmers. And Jollibee, in fairness to them, as an inclusive business or having this inclusive business aspect, made a commitment. And they said, as much as possible, we will buy locally. I'm sure the Bahay Kubo Organics and all of our agricultural groups here are quite happy with that. Jollibee said, we will buy locally as much as possible. And their first project was with onion farmers in Nueva Ecija. And what happened? By that partnership of an inclusive business and the community enterprise with a social enterprise trying to manage that whole relationship, and that social enterprise is Catholic Relief Services. They're traditionally not a social enterprise, but they serve the purpose of a social enterprise in this model. They organize the community, they help the farmers, improve their yield, get to a quality which is acceptable to Jollibee. And now, they're actually supplying Jollibee's commissary directly. In the Philippines, a farmer's product, and I know many of you know this already, a farmer's product may be about 5 layers before it actually gets to you or to us. 5 layers. Every layer na pinagdadaanan niya, lumiliit yung kita niya. In the Philippines, if you compare the earnings of farmers, traders, and retailers, may bukol po tayo. Mababa sa farmers, mataas ang kita ng traders, mababa ang retailers. In other developed countries, that margin split is actually more equitable, where a farmer, a trader, and a retailer will likely earn roughly around the same amount. Sa Pilipinas, yung magsasaka, siya yung pinakadehado. So if you're asking me, why are farmers still one of the poorest sectors? It's because that structure keeps them poor. So it's not mystery. It's very clear why. So kung gusto mong tumulungan yung farmers, kailangan mong baguhin yung supply chain ngayon. That's what Jollibee did. They said, we will buy directly from the farmers. The Department of Agriculture, or I think the city came in, provided the vehicle. The farmers now are the ones who sort. They're the ones who pack. Meron silang vehicle na nabigay sa kanila, so they deliver directly to the commissary of Jollibee. During harvest time, up to 80%, 60 to 80% of all of those onions that we eat, and all of those burgers, and all of that food comes from the Kalasag farmers. For me, that's amazing. And I've met them. And kita mo, no? Nakita mo yung mga farmers natin dyan, pag nakita mo sila, yung gawa ng kamay nila, yun yung kinakain natin sa Jollibee. And Jollibee, of course, is the largest fast food chain in the Philippines. So this basic framework, for me, I think is actually where we should be headed. There's a lot of effort. Can we go down to the generic groups? There's a lot of effort in working on social enterprise, and that's where I came from. That's where you are also. Many of you are. But right now, I think the challenge is connecting our community enterprises or community partners to larger markets. If you're able to get these products directly to the markets, then that's the same thing that we're doing here. If this market can be a sustainable and can be a sure market like Jollibee, even better. But the best way to actually help wholesale communities out of poverty is connecting them to larger markets. Poverty, in some sense, can be considered as a lack of access. And those farmers, kung ang kaharap lang nila yung mga traders, who buy very cheaply from them, pinapautangan sila at a very high rate, that's basically stopping them from engaging the market directly. But if we're able to connect all of these players in an inclusive supply chain, then there is a way to actually wholesale get these communities out of poverty. And these farmers, nakalasan farmers in Nueva Ecija, nung binisita ko po sila yung mismo nagkwento. Because of that steady market that Jollibee provides for them, they're able to plan because alam na nila yung kikitain nila. Hindi yung tipo na this month, may kita ako, next month, zero ako. So because of that regularity, they're able to plan, they're able to provide education for their children. In fact, may mga college na yung mga magsasakang yun, and they were so proud that some of their kids were in college. Yung mga bahay nila na mula sa kahoy, ngayon, sementado na. And siguro, well, meron na silang mga motorsiklo at tricycle, and siguro pang-apat, and this can be a sign of the times, nung nagpa-picture na, naglabasan sila ng mga smartphone para mag-picturean, di ba? So, you know, you get to see this, and Jollibee always tells us that maybe they did their work too good. Because now, the farmers negotiate with them on the price. And sometimes their purchasing offices, I think you trained them too well kasi sobrang na silang magaling mag-negotiate ng presyo. But that's an example of a working model that we're trying to replicate. Now, without the social enterprise, that's not going to work. There's been so many projects in the past, community, direct-to-market, after a few months, nag-fail yung project. What the social enterprise did there was one, they helped organize the community, and in many ways, I'm sure they also helped the community dream big for themselves. Two, they actually, I wouldn't say forced, but maybe they helped the community get to a place where they could supply Jollibee at the right quality and the right frequency. So there was a lot that the farmers also had to change in the way that they work and in the way that they saw themselves. It took them more than a year until that supply was regular. Yung first delivery, ni-reject yung mga sibuyas ng ating magsasaka. But Jollibee had to do that because they had to make a point that if we are going to engage in this business relationship, it has to be as equals. We will buy it, but you need to produce the right quality and the right frequency. Walang babying. Hindi binibi yung mga farmers. But the good thing is, Catholic Relief Services, which served as a social enterprise, was there to guide them along the way. It didn't happen overnight. It took maybe, in their estimation, anywhere from 1.5 to 2 years. But by the time that the second year was done, and nobody gave up in this project, by that time, the farmers were able to produce at the right frequency, at the right quality, at the right quantity, and that's when things started to take off. We're trying to replicate this in many areas. Now, our office has taken it upon ourselves to actually push for this model in more areas. So we're working with ube farmers in Davao, with cacao farmers. We're working with a lot of different groups and trying to connect them to larger markets. Whether it's helping them repackage their product so it's more saleable to the market, or leaving them as the raw material supplier for larger companies. Yan ho yung ginagawa namin. Now, as a senator, actually, nag-iba ho yung role natin. As a social entrepreneur, you're there on the ground, you're working with the community, and that's really key. Because, just going back, without the social enterprise, I think this model doesn't work. Without that group in the middle, managing the community, managing the companies or the market. This is not going to work without that group. And many of you are actually that key component to this model. And one thing I think that's lacking in the Philippines is really the one in the middle. Hindi ho tayo mauubusan ng community enterprise. Napakarami ho niya. In fairness, there have been more and more inclusive businesses or businesses that have been trying to do better with their operations and trying to reach out and have more of their operations as inclusive and socially responsible. What's lacking, I think, is really the social entrepreneur in the middle. And efforts like this, I think, will support more people to go into social enterprise. Find that it's sustainable, it's something doable, it's something where, you know, your dreams can become reality right away. Again, hindi siya madali, and I know all of you know that, hindi siya madali. But, if you look at this model, 6 years, pero look at the lives of the farmers naman. Lahat sila talagang umangat na. Okay. Now, as a senator, iba na yung role. And I'd like to share with you some good news from yesterday. Now, the question is, all of you have great projects. Nanggaling na rin ako dyan, I have great projects. Now, I look at Hapinoy, at our largest scale, we were in, I think, 12 provinces, 10 to 12 provinces. Rags to Riches now, I think, helps about 200, 250 women weavers already. Gawad Kalinga is in 2,000 communities. That's like probably the largest NGO in the Philippines. 2,000 communities. But that's still 2,000 out of 44,000 barangays. That's still 10 provinces for Hapinoy out of 74 provinces. That's still 250 women out of millions of women for Rags to Riches. And same with your projects. So, as a senator, dahil iba na po yung perspective, the question was, how now can we actually create that support system for all of you, for all of us? How can we create that support system where a GK project will be in all barangays? A Hapinoy project will be in all provinces. Your projects can actually scale up and have that support to scale up. How can we connect all of these different institutions? How do we connect our community enterprises to these companies? You need some type of infrastructure to actually get that to connect. So what we did was, on our first week, we filed a number of bills which will support the inclusive growth agenda. But I'd like to focus on one, which is the Go Negosyo Bill. Of 2014 na pala ito. So the Go Negosyo Bill, what does it do? Basically, it mandates DTI to put up negosyo centers with the LGU, which will be that support system for our micro and small entrepreneurs. Of course, social enterprises are also micro and small enterprises. Our cooperatives are also micro and small enterprises. Our community enterprises are also micro and small enterprises. So it basically creates these centers, forces DTI to be a frontline organization, have those centers which will provide training, which will link them to financing, which will create the market linkages, which will give you the mentorship and the training. All of this plus ease of doing business. All the permits na kailangan mo will be in that negosyo center. That's the idea for the Go Negosyo Bill. This is like the first bill that we actually filed. This creates infrastructure. It creates that support system that hopefully all of you can access. The idea is on a very, very local level. We're not talking about nationwide. We're talking about Bacolod City, for example. Bacolod City, meron kang proyekto doon with farmers, meron kang proyekto doon with weavers, meron kang proyekto doon with handicraft makers, with IP groups, with youth groups. Who can specifically help you on the government side? It should be this negosyo center.